I didn't think I was ever going to catch my breath. That was my first experience with a caulk gun. Just don't ask me to show you the scar.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. I just got back into town.
Oh, too bad. You just missed out on my caulk gun story.
Yeah, don't worry. He'll tell it again.
And again and again.
So where have you been?
Yeah, you weren't here last week either. You missed my story about
The first time I caulked a joint with the leopard.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It is a good story. So, would you fall off the caulk wagon?
I was on vacation, and I didn't have time to change. Actually, it was more of a pilgrimage than a vacation. I visited the Sherwin-Williams lab in Warrensville Heights, Ohio. I took the caulk failure tour.
Oh, did you get any pictures?
No, just videos. But I haven't put any special effects in yet or composed the music yet.
You know, every time I go on a caulk-related retreat, I always bring back pictures. You know, endless configurations and applications. So different, yet similar. You know, our harmonious cacophony. No, cacophony. Like
I've always wanted to go to Warrensville Heights. I hear the grounds are absolutely lovely.
But do they really show the 4 common failures of caulk?
All 4. Dirt pickup, paint cracking, cohesive failure, and adhesion failure. Ah, that lab, that glorious lab. They set up demos for all 4 of them.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but I really think this is what we should be talking about today.
Oh, so you did get my email that this is what we should talk about today. I sent it this morning. I was in early. Sometimes I get a little concerned that Phil might try to take credit for someone else's ideas, if you know what I mean. I hate that.
Obviously, dirt pickup is more common among higher-end caulks and sealants. It made sense to me. Look here. Better caulks are more flexible, and they contain additional plasticizers that make them more flexible and sticky.
You know, I heard that if you lay the bead on the top shelf caulk too thin, the plasticizers actually migrate to the top of the caulk.
Where the dirt sticks in, so don't be stingy when using high-priced caulks and sealants.
Yeah, be a player, and when you tool, don't be a fool. Don't feather out the edges too thinly.
Yeah, and you gotta watch out for the environments that are all filthy and disgusting and gross because there's a lot of airborne dust and dirt.
Right, because the problem isn't just dirty caulk. Dirt trapped in the caulk becomes a breeding ground for fungus and molds that grow on or beneath the caulk.
Which is why I said at the beginning of the group, dirt pickup is a bad thing for caulk. Dang it! No matter what I say, the words never right on the screen over me. You know, I wonder if it's my suit. It's a $200 suit.
And paint cracking is the #1 complaint Sherwin-Williams gets from its customers. You know, people caulk, then they paint, and then there's movement in the joint, and paint isn't meant to move.
So it cracks. Correct.
Which is why you should never, ever, ever paint caulk.
Actually, you can paint most caulks. All you have to do is heed the limitations on the data sheet. Here's the video I made on movement. There are 2 types of movement associated with any caulked joint. The first type is dynamic movement, which happens when the joint expands and contracts. Make sure to choose a caulk that's made to withstand the expected movement in a joint. The second type is static movement, which occurs when the caulk shrinks. Shrinkage is a normal characteristic of caulks and sealants. This is the reason you need to wait until the caulk is cured to paint over it. If the paint dries before the caulk has shrunk, the paint is likely to crack. And don't forget that the type of paint is an important consideration. Flat paints are more brittle, less binder and resin, and so they tend to crack more easily. Gloss paints have more latex and tend to be more flexible.
You guys really know your caulk. All right, come on, everybody say it with me. If the dirt sticks and the paint cracks, the caulk has failed. Come on, say it with me, everybody. Here we go. If the dirt,
We ain't saying that, because it ain't true.
yes, it is true. That's why it's called caulk failure. Duh. Dunce cap.
Actually, dirt pickup and paint cracking will definitely look bad, and I know when something looks bad.
Told you so.
But chances are the caulk is still doing its job. It's not the caulk that failed, it just looks really bad.
Really disgustingly bad.
That's what they told us at Warrensville Heights. And then they showed us some circumstances where the caulk itself failed.
Obviously, caulk fails sometimes, okay? Caulk works hard. Sometimes too hard. It doesn't sleep right. It gets depressed. Can you blame it? Think about it. Well, when caulk fails, it needs our support, not our ridicule, not our scorn. It needs to know that just because it failed, it doesn't mean it didn't succeed.
Here's a video I took at the Cohesive Failure exhibit. Cohesive failure occurs when caulk is stretched beyond its limits. As you can see here, the caulk is still firmly bonded to both surfaces, but as they move, it tears apart in the middle.
That's horrible. What would make it do that? Oh, I mean, why don't you just tell them what would make it do that?
Actually, there are 3 reasons for cohesive failure. The customer selected an inferior grade of caulk for a particular job, caulk that was not designed to accommodate the normally expected joint movement. The customer didn't use enough caulk for the joint. Hence, it's spread too thin and can't perform according to specifications. Or the joint moved more than expected.
Which is either a construction mistake or simply poor planning.
Which is something we would never do. We would never let caulk fail because it was incoherent.
You know, for Christmas, I think we're going to pool all our money together and get Edward a clue about what's going on.
And if you liked my last video, you'll love this one. I just posted it on GooTube. Adhesive failure occurs when the caulk separates from the substrate. This can happen for one of 2 reasons. Either the surface was not correctly prepared before caulking, or the wrong product was selected for a particular application.
That's why it's always important to have the right caulk for the right application.
Because no matter how good it looks, it's not all the same.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's good to know that before you take on a job.
Listen, would you all mind if we just call it a day?
You know, I think he's right. We should stop and savor the moment.
Are you going to be all right?
No. Yeah, just sometimes it gets to me that caulk fails. Caulk can let you down. Like a girl you had a crush on in junior high. Just like Susan. Wouldn't mind those flowers back. They're probably dead by now.
Wow, you couldn't give me enough caulk to make me explore that story any further. Anyway, today was an exceptional day in the ways of caulk. Here's what I got out of it. There are 4 common caulk failures. Dirt pickup, which usually happens with the high-end caulk because the additional plasticizers are sticky, or if you spread the bead too thin. Paint cracking, if you paint before the caulk is cured or if the joint moves after the paint dries. Cohesive failure, where the caulk sticks to the surface, but the joint moves too much and tears it apart. And adhesive failure, when it doesn't stick to the surface because it wasn't prepared or the customer chose the wrong caulk. Good stuff. You know, I gotta get over to Warrensville Heights and see this firsthand. Later.